Yeah, we back. Now today, man, we're going to talk about something that popped into my head recently. So this morning I'm sitting back, I'm rolling up, I'm smoking, right? And for some reason, Kevin Samuels popped into my head just randomly, right? And I was thinking, man, Kevin changed the game. Kevin changed the game in a way that many people might not expect, right? Before Kevin Samuels came onto the scene, the temperature in the streets was very different as it pertained to the topic of marriage. Before Kevin Samuels popped up on the scene, even me myself, I was against marriage. Even me myself, during that time, I was like, man, I'm never getting married, man. We're going to be bachelors till we 67 years old. Like, that's the temperature. That was the vibe in the street during that time. And in my opinion, what set Kevin apart from so many other content creators in his similar niche, in his similar market, was he was the only one who was preaching marriage among black men. He was the only one putting a spotlight on the benefits surrounding marriage in terms of wealth accumulation, wealth maintenance, wealth inheritance. He would talk about the benefits that occur when one black man from a successful family meets a black woman from a successful family, and they get married and they combine assets, they combine resources, they combine knowledge. One piece of content that always stuck with me was when Kevin said that as the gross income, as the gross wealth, as the wealth increases amongst married couples, the divorce rate actually goes down. I remember one time Kevin had said, when married couples pass over the barrier of $250,000 in gross income, the divorce rate drops down to about 20% or lower. And when I sat back and I thought about it, especially the married couples that I know who are in that tax bracket, in that range, right? What he was saying was accurate. When a couple has skin in the game and really built something from the ground up together, you notice that they tend to stay together a little bit better than those who may not have built as much or may not have built much at all. And in my opinion, the biggest contribution that Kevin Samuels made was he made it cool to embrace marriage. Because before Kevin Samuels popped on the scene, marriage was seen as, listen, if you get married, you a sucker. If you get married, you a lame. Like that was the image that was placed on marriage. Marriage had a very bad name. Before Kevin Samuels came up on the scene, nobody was talking about getting married. Nobody was having conversations surrounding marriage, what it takes to get married, what it takes to maintain a marriage. Nobody was having conversations like that. And definitely not on a platform as large as Kevin Samuels was, bringing in 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 people per night. So in this video, man, I'm going to play some clips that I think would add an exclamation point to the discussion that we are currently having. And then, as you know, I'm going to come back with my commentary. Let's go.
Reasons. One, because marriage is a business. Marriage is a business, and we know that it's a business. Here's the thing. If you look at marriages for people, $250,000 net income, gross income or more, the divorce rate drops to around less than 20%. The men who actually put in work run stuff, as they should. That's why the kind of men we're talking about have options. That's why they have beautiful, cooperative women. These men also don't worry about divorce and child support and family court like a lot of guys, average guys, do. Let's talk about that. These guys don't worry about that shit. These guys have starter wives and second wives and mistresses. They don't, if they do that, they don't worry about, well, she's going to take me to the cleaners. Ain't nobody worried about taking no $50,000 a year dude to the cleaners. These guys aren't worried about that stuff because it's just money to them. They'll go make more. Men do not play with women when it comes to love, children, and marriage.
Yeah, we back. Now, the one thing I do disagree with Kevin Samuels on was his opinion of, well, if you get taken to the cleaners in divorce court, well, you just go make more money. Now, I don't agree with Kevin when he said that. That's why on my channel, you always see me preaching. What do I say? I always say, yes, I do believe in marriage. Yes, I plan to get married, but most likely not under the laws of the United States. The world is big. You don't got to tie your destiny down with the United States. And in my opinion, if that's a deal breaker for whatever woman that you're dealing with, like if you say, okay, we can get married, but let's start a new life somewhere else. Let's set up shop in a different location. If she's tied down to the United States and she refuses to get married under the laws of another country, well, that might be a red flag. Or if her career is tied down to the United States and she makes her money over here, well, that's another situation as well. But yes, I do plan to get married, but most likely not in the United States. And one thing I noticed when Kevin came out, man, the temperature and the conversations changed, right? Before, young brothers like myself, we were talking about we never gonna get married ever. From a young age, we had already written off marriage forever. We just looked around at the landscape, we looked around at the family court, the divorce laws, and we said, man, we ain't doing it, right? But when Kevin Samuels came up on the scene, man, He came up on the scene and he made it cool to be a family man. He made it cool to be a married man. He would talk about how, listen, every president, every head of state, every powerful CEO, every powerful man that you know, he's married, he got a family. He would bring up the numbers and the stats and talk about how married men are the wealthiest, most powerful demographic of men in the world. He would drop the numbers plain and simple, no emotion. And even myself in the video I dropped the other day, I crunched the numbers as well. I said that a single black man, a married black man, has more than double the wealth of a single black man, and a married black woman has damn near 15 times the wealth as a single black woman. Keep in mind, that's a single black woman with no kids. Once you add in the kids, that figure jumps up to levels that are unbelievable. Listen, in terms of wealth, a married black woman blows a single black woman with kids out the water, out the park. It's no competition. Like, the wealth levels is not even in the same stratosphere. And once you realize that couples who tend to have assets, resources built up and compiled together, they usually stay together. As the net income rises, the stats of divorce, it goes down. And because Kevin Samuels came on the scene and he changed the landscape in the way that he did, a lot of young brothers like myself, we began to embrace the concept of marriage. We began to embrace the idea of marriage. Whereas before, we had cast it aside. We had already written it off. And I believe on the other end, with the women who called into his show, with the women who followed him each night, I believe that even their mindset was also changed, because I've seen it in real time watching the channel. You would see a woman come on the show, not really familiar with the setup, not really familiar with the theme of the content. And then towards the end, you would realize that her mind was changed. It's like a new level was unlocked. A lot of these conversations were brand new for women at the time. They didn't really know the information that Kevin was coming with. They didn't really know, okay, what do men want? What are men looking for in a wife? They didn't really know. So once the women started to get some inside knowledge from the men during these conversations with Kevin, you saw some of them also begin to embrace the concept of marriage and family. In fact, there were women who came on YouTube with their own testimony saying, Kevin Samuels got me engaged. Kevin Samuels got me married. In fact, let me play some footage. And as you know, I'll be right back.
Multiple of his broadcasts. I would say I've probably watched maybe 40-50 plus of his shows since I found out about his channel back in June, July. Over the time, his message definitely grew on me, even having discussions with the man I was dating about different podcasts and the different shows he was having, and having discussions with an actual man who was well within the financial bracket that Kevin Samuels talks about. It was really interesting to see how differently we as men and women think, and how we go about dating, and how sometimes if you as a woman don't understand the perspective of men, you kind of sell yourself short or put yourself at a disadvantage because you're not navigating the dating marketplace with a mind that is conducive for getting the kind of results that you want. And that's what I found interesting about Kevin Samuels' platform. So although what he has to say might not be the easiest for a lot of people to hear, but I do believe that there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of validity to the things he is saying.
Yeah, we back. Now, obviously, of course, besides from Kevin Samuels' message regarding black men becoming entrepreneurs, businessmen, captains of industry, one thing that I constantly stress on my channel is the necessity for black men to create our own media houses, our own movie studios, our own record labels, our own distribution channels for our own media that we control, that we own, that we bring in the lion's share of profit from. The person that I got that from was Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was always preaching that. That was my favorite episodes, when he would talk about black men becoming business giants. A lot of people got into Kevin because of the viral moments with me. The reason why I appreciated him was because he always preached entrepreneurship to black men. He always preached the importance of becoming owners, bosses, employers, providing jobs for the community, becoming someone who gives opportunities to your people. That is something that they do not know that Kevin Samuels preached all the time. In fact, my favorite episode that he did was when he did a reaction video to the Birth of a Nation movie that came out over 100 years ago. He said this was the beginning. This was the first assault on the black male image. Obviously, for those of y'all who heard about Birth of a Nation, that was a movie that came out about a century ago. And I forget the exact storyline, but it was basically the protagonist was a white woman and the antagonist was a black man. So a brief summary of the story was basically, this evil, felonious black man is on the loose, terrorizing the community, and the white women got to run away to safety. I remember that episode. Kevin Samuels had said this was the first instance where there was actually media that was funded and distributed to purposely destroy the black male image. In fact, I remember he said that movie was played at the White House for Woodrow Wilson. That was the first recorded incident where media was used to launch an attack on the black male image. And then in that same episode, Kevin preached about the necessity for black men to enter the media game, right? for black men to become bosses, CEOs, and owners in the arena of media. Not only to control our own narrative, but to take back our image that has been destroyed. So in my opinion, those are two things that I would say, those are the two biggest contributions, in my opinion, that Kevin Samuels made for black men. He made it cool to be a family man again. He made it cool to be a married man, especially during a time on social media where that was seen as lame, that was seen as outdated, that was seen as, dudes were talking about they're going to be a bachelor until they're 75 years old, they never going to get married, they never going to settle down. So for Kevin to come with the complete opposite message, and on top of that to have some of the women on board and to change some of their minds as well, that was a major contribution. And also, once you crack the numbers, once you crunch the numbers do not lie. Married men are the wealthiest men in the world. There isn't a head of state that isn't married. There isn't a CEO of a major company that isn't married. There isn't a powerful or influential man anywhere on the planet that is not married. Now, I'm not saying the marriage is the reason that they are powerful. I believe those men would have been successful regardless, but the numbers don't lie at the end of the day. And of course, we can't fail to mention the benefits of a two-parent household, the stability that comes along with a two-parent household. When Kevin was alive, a lot of the brothers, a lot of black men went against him because of this message that he was promoting. When he would talk about the benefits of marriage and encourage men to get married, and he would crunch the numbers and say that, listen, all the richest, most powerful men, they are married. A lot of black men did not want to hear it. But me, myself, I was open to that message because I came up under a successful black marriage. I've seen it work. Everything that Kevin Samuels said in terms of marriage, I've seen it play out with my own parents, with my own aunts and uncles. I've seen it play out in my own family. So I know he was speaking facts. And I'll tell you this, from the time that I first started listening to Kevin, when I was against marriage, by the time that Kevin had passed away, man, I was all in. I was like, nah, I'm getting married. I can't wait to get married and have a bunch of kids, man. I can't wait. And I can testify that a lot of young black men like myself, they were also converted. They were also converted over, and they now embrace the concept of marriage. They embrace the concept of family, whereas before they had written it off, just like myself. So for that alone, I got to pay homage to Kevin for that, man. I got to pay homage to Kevin for promoting the idea of collaboration over competition, right? Forget the gender war, forget the black man versus the black woman. At the end of the day, it's the married couples that got all the money and the power. It's the married couples that's sitting on top of the pyramid. It's the married couples that's sitting at the top of the food chain. And the only demographic of single people that got money, that got influence, that got power are elderly white women. Elderly white women who inherited their money from their father, their grandfather, their husband, whatever it may be. And even that demographic of women, they had to inherit their wealth through either the family structure, through their parents, their mother and their father, a husband and a wife, passing down assets to their children, or their husband who may have left money or a house for them when he passed away. As we know, men pass away before women do. And for that reason, white women are the wealthiest demographic of single people in the United States. And of course, there are more white women in the country than anybody else. And all their wealth was accumulated through collaboration, not competition. Their wealth was inherited through the family structure. So listening to Kevin, I realized, man, I would be a fool. I would be a fool to go in the opposite direction when you see that something clearly works. And for those who go in the opposite direction, you can see the numbers. It obviously ain't working as they claim, right? These women that talk about we're going to be single forever, even the brothers that talk about we're going to be single forever. When it comes to all metrics of economics and finance, married people are blowing single people out of the water. And I want to salute Kevin for shining a light on that, shining a spotlight on that, always preaching the benefits of marriage, always preaching the benefits of the family structure, even though a lot of people might not know him for that. They only know him for the viral moments. But for those of y'all who watch the show, y'all know he always preached that. He always preached that. Even if he was a man that wasn't married himself, he would always say that he plans to get married again. Now, of course, he passed away, so he can never fulfill that obligation, that promise that he made. But Kevin always embraced marriage. And I want to salute the brother, man, for making it cool to be a family man, for making it cool to wear suits again. You got to understand, in the media landscape where the only black men that get visibility, promotion, and acknowledgement are the rappers and the ball players and the criminals and the drug dealers and things like that, for a guy like Kevin Samuels to come up on the screen, custom tailored suit every night, fresh and clean, he made black men look good. For a short time in the spotlight, Kevin Samuels made black men look good. For so long, the only images that we got in the media of black men were these rappers with these purple dreadlocks and these tattoos all over their face, and these ball players that can't even read and write, that can't even, articulate a sentence in an interview. So when Kevin Samuels came up on the scene, he was a breath of fresh air. Now, I know a lot of people might not like him, especially the women, for the viral moments that they may have seen on Twitter, on TikTok, whatever. But for those of y'all who watch the program, y'all know what I mean. Y'all know his content was bigger than that. Y'all know his content was much more than that. And this topic was just on my mind this morning while I was sitting back, rolling up, smoking, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna hop on YouTube and I'm gonna drop a video. So yeah, man, yeah. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. Shout out to the big homie, man. And yeah, it's your boy Neferkari Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. Like, share, subscribe, Cash App in the description. And I'm gone. Peace.
reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applaud it. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Get for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This is an art, and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.